Interview with the Vampire Breakdown, Part 1. The analysis of Antonio Banderas, Christian Slater, Kirsten Dunst, Brad Pitt, and Tom Cruise's film career. That's right, we're going to go through 5 A-list actors' entire careers in a single video, and I'm not going to take 4 hours to do it. So, this is going to be a little bit of I'm here to chew bubblegum and be subjective, and I'm all out of bubblegum, but we're going to go for it. Okay, so what we're going to do first is Antonio Banderas, and I'm going to run through his movies and projects, which in my opinion, we're just going to say not good. And what do I mean by not good? Not a lasting cultural impact, economically successful, entertaining, good reviews, some overall combination put together of all those categories. And as I'm listing these films, kind of think in your head, do you agree? And then if there's one that I said it's bad, keep track of that. And then if later on when I say there's one that's good, keep track of that. What we're doing here is we're going to make an overall analysis of a few things of these 5 movie stars. So without further ado, let's roll. Antonio Banderas, films and projects that weren't that great. Labyrinth of Passion, E del Seguro, Librano Senor, El Caso Almeria, The Stilts, Requiem for a Spanish Peasant, The Court of the Pharaoh, Caso Cerrado, Puzzle, Matador, Women on the Verge of a Nervous Breakdown. Now, I've heard that this is potentially one of his breakout roles, so just keep that in mind, but not that famous or a cultural impact that I'm aware of. 27 Hours, Law of Desire, El Placer de Matar, Baton Rouge, Going Down in Morocco, If They Tell You I Fell, Tie Me Up, Tie Me Down, Against the Wind, A Woman in the Rain, Terra Nova, The Mambo Kings, Despera, The House of the Spirits, Of Love and Shadows, Miami Rhapsody, 4 Rooms, Never Talk to Strangers, Evita, Too Much, Play It to the Bone, The Body, Spy Kids, Femme Fatale, Spy Kids 2, Frida, Ballistic X vs. Sever, Spy Kids 3D, Imagining Argentina, Shrek 2, Take the Lead, Border Town, Shrek the Third. I should also add that even if the movie was an animated movie, we're gonna kind of not count that. So even cultural impact animated movies also don't count, because I do know Shrek was pretty popular. My Mom's New Boyfriend, The Other Man, Thick as Thieves, Shrek Forever After, You Will Meet a Tall Dark Stranger, The Big Bang, Black Gold, The Skin I Live In, Puss in Boots, Haywire, Ruby Sparks, I'm So Excited, Machete Kills, Justin and the Knights of Valor, Automata, The Expendables 3, SpongeBob, Knight of Cups, The 33, Altamira, Black Butterfly, Gun Shy, Security, Acts of Vengeance, Bullet Head, The Music of Silence, Beyond the Edge, Life Itself, Pain and Glory, The Laundromat, Doolittle, Hitman Wife's Bodyguard, Official Competition, Uncharted, Codename Banshee, The Enforcer, Puss in Boots: Last Wish, Indiana Jones and the Dial of Destiny, Cult Killer, Cleanup Crew, Baby Girl, and Paddington in Peru. Now, the list of Antonio Banderas movies that I, in my own opinion, do think were successful in some manner of cultural, economic, rewatchability, entertainment impacts. Philadelphia, Interview with the Vampire, which is the main reason we're here. Desperado, Assassins, The Mask of Zorro, which is, in my opinion, his best. The 13th Warrior, Original Sin, Once Upon a Time in Mexico, The Legend of Zorro. Still pretty good, not quite as good as the first one. Okay? And so think about those. Think about, again, both was there any that I listed that you thought, oh, that was a good movie, or cultural impact, and then think of the ones that I just listed that were, would you have taken any of those off the list? Hopefully there's roughly the same, maybe give one to one list and take one off the other, so we're making kind of a broad point here. Okay, Christian Slater, starting in 1985. First, his projects that not that culturally significant, economically successful, rewatchable. The Legend of Billie Jean, Twisted, The Name of the Rose, Tucker, The Man in His Dream, Heathers, Desperate for Love, Beyond the Stars, The Wizard, Gleaming the Cube, Tales from the Dark Side, the movie, Pump Up the Volume, Mobsters, Star Trek VI, Cuffs, Where the Day Takes You, Fern Gully, Untamed Heart, Jimmy Hollywood, Murder in the First, Bed of Roses, Austin Powers, Julianne Poe, Basil, Very Bad Things, The Contender, Who is Cletus Tout, Zoolander, Hard Cash, Masked and Anonymous, Churchill: The Hollywood Years, Mindhunters, The Confessor, Pursued, Alone in the Dark, The Deal, Crossing the Line, Bobby, Hollow Man 2, He Was a Quiet Man, Slipstream, The Ten Commandments, Love Lies Bleeding, Igor, Dolan Cadillac, Lies and Illusions, Quantum Quest, Sacrifice, The River Murders, Guns, Girls, and Gambling, Without Men, Playback, Soldier of Fortune, El Gringo, Freaky Deaky, Dawn Rider, Rites of Passage, Hatfield and McCoys, Back to the Sea, Assassin's Bullet, Bullet to the Head, The Power of Few, Stranded, Assassin's Run, Nymphomaniac, Ask Me Anything, Way of the Wicked, Hot Tub Time Machine, The Adderall Diaries, King Cobra, The Summit, Moon Guardian, The Wife, The Public, Suicide Squad, Hell to Pay, We Can Be Heroes, Chupa, Freelance, Unfrosted, Blink Twice, If I Had Legs I'd Kick You, and this is still yet to be released, How to Rob a Bank. Alright, the list of his movies that were successful, in my opinion. Young Guns 2, Robin Hood, Prince of Thieves, True Romance, Interview with the Vampire, Broken Arrow, Hard Rain, 3,000 Miles to Graceland, and Wind Talkers. Oh, I should also say, hopefully you have a little bit of a broad taste. Can you enjoy an action movie without too much character development, but understand that it's good for action? And can you also enjoy a movie that's a drama or a horror and just appreciate it for its genre, whether you have a preferred genre or not? Kirsten Dunst. So, list of the projects she was in that not that successful. First, New York Stories, The Bonfire of the Vanities, High Strung, Greedy, Mystery of the Third Planet, Snow Queen, Mother Night, Anastasia, Kiki's Delivery Service, All I Want to Do, Adventures of Tom Sawyer, True Heart, Drop Dead Gorgeous, Dick, The Crow Salvation, Lucky Town, Get Over It, Deeply, Crazy Beautiful, The Cat's Meow, Lover's Prayer, Levity, Cana, The Prophecy, Welcome, All Good Things, The Second Bakery Attack, Bastard, Fight for Your Right Revisited, Touch of Evil, Melancholia, Bachelorette, On the Road, Upside Down, The Bling Ring, Anchorman 2, The Two Faces of January, Aspirational, Midnight Special, Hidden Figures, The Beguiled, Woodshock, The Power of the Dog, Civil War, and Roofman. This next film is yet to be released. Oh, I should also mention that we're looking for films that more than likely they are the main actor, if not one of the top 2 or 3 supporting actors. So other kind of condition. Doesn't have to be a very hard condition, but they're part of the reason why a film is culturally memorable, and they're a significant portion of that, not just they were complete side character kind of a thing. All right, now we're getting to the meat and potatoes of this. Brad Pitt. All right, so first his projects that, in my opinion, weren't anything too good. Nothing great about them. Oh, and I should say some of these ones that I'm listing, they're okay. They're just not great. Great movies, okay? So, first his non-winners. Dark Side of the Sun, Happy Together, Cutting Class, Across the Tracks, Thelma and Louise is his kind of a breakout in a way. Johnny Suede, Cool World, California, The Favor, Being John Malkovich, I don't know, maybe that's a good one, but The Mexican, Confessions of a Dangerous Mind, Full Frontal, Sinbad, Legend of the Seas, it's an animated one, Babel, Megamind, animated, The Tree of Life, Happy Feet 2, The Counselor, The Audition, By the Sea, Voyage of Time, Deadpool 2, The Lost City, Bullet Train, Okay, so those are, again, my opinion, not that great. Um, some of them bad, some of them might actually be okay, just not really that good. Oh, and talk about subjective. Have I seen every single one of these movies? No, I've seen a good, pretty much everything that I have said is good. I have seen. That's probably 99% of those, and probably half the ones or more that I haven't. But there's not a lot of fanfare, and you can trust the audience and the critics a little bit. It's just not memorable and not that great. So, but again, feel free to disagree, but kind of keep a little bit of a tally of how much you disagree. Hopefully, you don't need to repeat that too much more. All right, so Brad Pitt's great projects, and this is Brad Pitt, so of course he's gonna get a lot. A River Runs Through It, Interview with the Vampire, True Romance, Legends of the Fall, Seven, 12 Monkeys, Sleepers, The Devil's Own, 7 Years in Tibet, Fight Club, Meet Joe Black, Snatch, Ocean's 11, Spy Game, Troy, Ocean's 12, Mr. and Mrs. Smith, Ocean's 13, Assassination of Jesse James, The Curious Case of Benjamin Button, Burn After Reading, Inglourious Bastards, Moneyball, Killing Them Softly, World War Z, 12 Years a Slave, Fury, The Big Short, Allied, The War Machine, Ad Astra, Once Upon a Time in Hollywood, Babylon, Wolves, and most recently F1. Okay, and now on to Tom Cruise. So first, projects, movies that he was in that just didn't quite, not good to maybe just a little bit okay, but not really much of a cultural impact. Endless Love, Taps, Losing It, The Outsiders, All the Right Moves, Legend. That's a movie. Hey, this is pretty good. I managed to not go on any tangents. I wanted to like it, and I just couldn't. Color of Money, Far and Away, Austin Powers in Goldmember. It's more of a cameo. War of the Worlds. Again, feel free to disagree on some. Lions for Lambs. Tropic Thunder. It's probably a good one, but he was a cameo. So, Night and Day, throwaway kind of action movie, but not bad. Rock of Ages. The second Jack Reacher movie, Never Go Back. I put this one in red because I really think it's his worst failure. Was not to say anything, like he's had a great career, but The Mummy. And then so I haven't seen these, but I've heard some bad reviews, and I've heard of some issues with them. But the last two Mission Impossibles, which would be, I think, 8 and 9, Dead Reckoning, which they split into two different films. So if anything you disagree with, and then the good movies that Tom Cruise has made. So that don't be a Tom Cruise hater. He makes good movies, and yes, he does. He's done drama, he's done romance, he's done horror, and he does action very fucking well. Risky Business, Top Gun, Born on the 4th of July, Cocktails, Rain Man, Days of Thunder, A Few Good Men, The Firm, Interview with the Vampire, Mission Impossible, Eyes Wide Shut, Jerry Maguire, Magnolia, Mission Impossible 2, Vanilla Sky, Minority Report, The Last Samurai, Collateral, Mission Impossible 3, Valkyrie, Mission Impossible Ghost Protocol, Jack Reacher, the first one of the two, Oblivion, Edge of Tomorrow, Mission Impossible Rogue Nation, American Made, Mission Impossible Fallout would have been the 7th Mission Impossible, and Top Gun Maverick. Alright, so if you agreed with my list completely, then we're going to go through the numbers. And if you had managed to sort of keep any track in there, and effectively for Antonio Banderas or the first three, Antonio, Christian, and Kirsten Dunst, if you say had wanted to add one more, so you had a net positive, or more than, or one movie added to the list, you would sort of add 2% to what I'm about to tell you for their hit rate, okay? So, and then for Brad and Tom, you would add roughly 1%. If you were subtract one, you would subtract 2%, I should say. So 1% roughly for these first three. If up or down if you wanted to subtract or add, and then 2% for Brad and Tom. So Antonio Banderas, a total of 93 projects, of which only 9 hits, 84 misses, and that's roughly 10%. So him being the main factor or the supporting actor in a great film, cultural impact, 10%. That's 10% home runs, I should almost say, to be honest. Christian Slater, 89 total projects, 81 misses, and 8 hits. And that's 10% for Antonio. That's about 9% for Christian Slater. And then Kirsten Dunst, she actually had a lot more than I had thought. Total of 78, and 61 misses, 17 significant hits, and that for a total of 22%. I'm doing movie star RBI here, basically. All right, Brad Pitt, a total of 60 projects. Yeah, and I mean, a lot of times for these guys too, it's their misses are probably as good as the average man's annual salary, or even better, I should say, entire career. Let's see, but yeah, this is almost like home runs. It's not just hits. But anyways, a total of 60 projects, and if you agreed with my ratings of good movies versus bad, 35 out of 60, which is 58% home run rate when this guy steps up to bat. And drum roll for Tom Cruise, a total of 46 projects with 18 misses and 28 home runs for a total of 61%, knocking it out of the park rate. And two other things before we wrap up this part one is I did a little research on physicality. So, if you're making a movie like a courtroom drama, it's that movie 12 Angry Men, you don't need it in shape for that. There isn't any stunts, and physicality wouldn't be important. And then also there's some movies where there's a little bit of something, but just not significant physicality. But wanted to show that the last physical role these actors did, so Antonio Banderas, 2024 in Cult Killer. Christian Slater had a pretty physical role in freelance action movies. Kirsten Dunst is a woman, but she did this movie called Civil War, and that might have been one of a good one too, or a cultural impact one too. I didn't count it, but I put it in R because it's kind of on the line. But there, even as a woman, it was a physical role for a woman. I don't think it was too much like real. It was more like kind of running around, maybe a dodging an explosion, but not necessarily anything crazy per se. And that was in the year 2024. And I've got the birth years too, so with that real quick after Brad Pitt and Tom Cruise. But where were you at? Brad Pitt's last physical role was F1. He's a race car driver. Now, yes, you're just driving, but there's a lot of torque and G-force and stress and tension involved with driving, race cars and car crashes and all that stuff. So that was a very physical role. And if you don't believe the driving aspect of that, that was 3 years ago now, but Bullet Train was also a very physical role for Brad. That was in 2022. And yeah, I even did like an AI. I use AI a little bit for this. Just as support, I'm not like an AI dependent or anything that, but a little bit of kind of almost like Minority Report with AI. I do these, help it to do a little bit of research and pull up data in the way that's most efficient. But he had actually rated the physicality on a 1 to 5 scale of F1 as a 4 out of 5, which makes sense. And then for Tom Cruise, Dead Reckoning's physical. It's a freaking Mission Impossible movie. The dude's like sprinting, the way that most high school or 25-year-olds sprint, and he's jumping off of buildings and motorcycle stuff and airplanes, and yeah, so that it would be a 6 out of 5, but that's a very physical role, and that was this just past year, okay? And so yeah, all actors, despite their ages, are still performing very physical roles, even in the present day. Thanks for watching. We're going to go into part 2, which might actually be a little bit shorter, but wanted to do this analysis to kind of provide a backup for part 2, which is a little bit more interesting. Thanks for listening.